Okay, class. We are going to look at a set of data here that have very large numbers. Okay, and we're gonna look at it in terms of graphing. So here we go. So what am I doing? I'm doing number 3 for the project, and we're doing it with an example that has data that is larger than normal, right? So first step is open the graph. So we go over to the instructions and we click on the Desmos link. Click, and it loads for us. All right, I'm going to redo this whole thing for us here. So what do we do with the graph? Well, here we go. We've got the equation of the line of best fit. We go to box 2, and we need to paste in our data table. So if you have these big numbers, you have them written out like this, right? Fully, all the way. So like not 1.9 million, but the word, right? But the actual number all the way written out. You're okay. You can still use the data just like it is. So I can highlight everything, copy this. Okay. So Control C for copying. And then I go over here and I paste it. And here is where I have to use Control and V at the same time to paste once I'm in that box 2. So notice that paste in the whole table, right? 248,000. That's the same as the data I have here, right? It all pasted in there. And it all graphs here really nicely. It's a good looking graph. This is great. And it's going by, hundreds of thousands. The one thing that happens though sometimes when you have large numbers of data is the slope can be a weird decimal. So in this case, it's like 0.000008. That's our slope. Goes for the equation of the line. I'm going to use that number in my equation. And that's okay for you to use. You can keep that, right? And then write that whole thing out. Okay, what am I talking about? Well, the equation of the line here, if I'm going to write it out, looks like this. It looks like y. We use this squiggle line, not the equal line, right? You can use 2 squiggle lines, equals the y-intercept, which is 117.78, and then minus 0.000008 times x. That's the equation of your line. And why is that such a crazy decimal? Well, because if I'm going to plug in x, I'm going to plug in something that's like in the hundreds of thousands. So that's why you have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0 before the number is your decimal. Okay, so leave it like that, and that's great. You just need to be able to understand that's your slope, and it's a very small number because your x's are so big. The other alternative, so let's check another way to do this. The other alternative is to make the units in hundreds of thousands. So what am I talking about here? So if I come here, I can make the units, say this, be COVID cases in hundred thousands or hundred thousands of people. Okay, so by doing that, I'm going to use this to kind of make it look good. By doing that, I can now adjust this number because the units are in hundreds of thousands. So I'm not going to write this all the way out. I'm going to say, because this is 248,000 and the units are in hundreds of thousands, at the 100,000 mark, I'm going to put a decimal. So it's 2.48568 hundreds of thousands. Okay, so and that's legit. And I go to the next one. Well, that rounded up. So we're going to actually want to make sure that our format is such that we can see everything. I'm going to change that to automatic and it stays like it is. Okay, I'm going to do that for everything. All right. Well, let's change our decimals. So this one would be 2.7. This one would be 3.4. Same here. Because the unit's in hundred thousands, I put the decimal there at 100,000. I don't like that this is rounding me up, so I'm going to change the format again. Automatic. So we see the decimal now. We'll do that for all of these. Okay, so at the decimal mark, that's what we do. Put the decimal, so it's now uniform down the road. Now here's an interesting one, because this one is now in millions, right? So where's the 100,000 mark? Right at that zero, right? This was a million, so at the 100,000 mark, I'm putting the decimal. So a million is more than 100,000, right? So the decimal should make it a bigger number. And so now that makes more sense, doesn't it? And same here. This was 1 million. And I'm going to put the decimal there, 1,900,000. So I put the decimal there. And same with this one. This was 2,600,000. So I put the decimal there. So that makes it a little bit bigger, right? And that's how it was. You can round these so that they're like smaller decimals. You don't have to have all of these. So like 2.48 really is what, 2.5? You know, you can have it be like that so that they're not like weird decimals either. Or you can leave it like it is. Just kind of do the same thing each time. And if you have to round up, make it more accurate. So this one would be more like 3.5. You can start to get the idea. So now that we've cleaned it up, right? And we've made the numbers look a little bit nicer because our units are in hundreds of thousands. We can now use this set of data. Okay. So let's actually do a whole new graph. And while that's loading, I just want you to understand, right? This person right here, because we put the units, this isn't like 2.5. This is 2.5 hundred thousands, thousand, right? That's how many people are here. I think it's a weird thing to say when it's 100,000. It's easier if it's like millions or thousands, right? Like 2.5K, 2K is like 2,000. You know that. But really, in this case, we converted it to 200,000. So it's 2.5 hundred-thousand, right? And it is, and for the ones that went beyond the 100,000s, it's a little bit weird to see that too. 100,000. 10.3 hundred-thousand really is 1 million. Okay. So that's a little weird, but you're at least dealing with numbers that are a little more manageable. Remember, you do not want the words though in your columns because they're not going to copy and paste into the graph. So now we have all of our numbers adjusted. We're going to keep the units. You want to make sure that you're always highlighting that, right? And then we go to our graph, copy that, go to box 2, Control V to paste. And and your slope becomes a little bit more manageable. Note it's still like 0.8, but it's not 0.00008. Okay. The only trick now is instead of these being increments of one, which it looks like in your graph, it's actually increments of 100,000. So when you put your context in here, right, when you talk about your X being COVID cases, you have to say that it's in 100,000. That's our unit. Okay, so that's important that you keep that in there. It's not going in increments of one. This is really going in increments of 100,000s. So it's up to you, right? Which one makes more sense to you when you graph it out and you do all that? We didn't really adjust the Y, and that's okay. That went by one. They both don't have to go in the same increment. Our Y-axis was number of deaths, right? So there's that. But now I've got my context. We can come up here to the graph to share it. We're going to export it. Give it time to download. And then we'll put it into our slide.